Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to this breakout session of the second MAP Nextgen CEO Web Conference 2021. I am John Allen Vinta, President and CEO of Micromatic Industries, your moderator for this breakout session on the good tech. This is the first session of track number 4. Track number 4 is all about the good tech. Please settle down comfortably. We will now begin our program. Some reminders before we proceed. As participants for this breakout session, you are automatically muted and your camera or video is also switched off. Audience in the EcoHub platform will remain muted. However, you are encouraged to submit your questions through the chat box. Due to time limitations, we may not be able to have all your questions answered live. Lastly, for our audience, you will only be able to see the speaker and the moderator and will not be able to view the other participants. In line with MAP policy, we will dispense with the lengthy introduction of our speaker. Our speaker for this breakout session is expected to share with us his views on how next-gen CEOs in his or her industry or sector should lead their businesses to be innovatively profitable, socially responsible, and environmentally respectful. I would like to remind our speaker that you are given 20 minutes for your presentation. May I now call on our speaker for this breakout session on the good tech. Please welcome one of 2020 Asia's top 100 scientists by the Asian Scientist magazine, the founder and CEO of Manila Healthtek, Dr. RAUL V. DESTURA.
Good day, everyone. I would like to thank the Management Association of the Philippines for inviting me today to speak in front of esteemed colleagues in this webinar. I was asked to talk about our journey and our experience on our biotechnology programs from a small work coming from the university and to where it is today as the first health biotechnology company in the Philippines. Our driver is actually asking the question, what if we can actually make molecular diagnostic technology more accessible here in the Philippines, because we're going to do it here instead of bring it into the country. Because diseases of poverty are mostly driven by infectious diseases. So access to low-cost technologies for its control is very important, and at the same time create that mechanism wherein your group, your organization, actually generates new knowledge to find sustainable and equitable solutions to diseases of poverty. But an idea will just remain an idea unless you execute them. So allow me to share with you our journey about this idea that we actually put together and where it went, its journey, what happened to the idea, and where the idea is heading. Building a biotechnology company in the Philippines is a very daunting task. But sometimes, if you really want things to happen, because you really want things to happen, there must be that willingness to take bold risks, to the point of being fearless, or even brave, or having that grit, knowing that there are no health biotechnology company in the country, and that you're gonna go through the whole process and most likely stumble several times along the way. In terms of developing diagnostic technology for healthcare intervention, we feel that it all starts with needs assessment. And that particular time, a point in time when we were discussing our ideas, the thing that really come to our minds is access. Access to one of the most powerful diagnostic technology for diseases already being enjoyed by developed countries but only accessed by less than 1% of the Philippine population because of the limiting cost of such technology. Therefore, ideas are generated out of need, and not the other way around. So, where did this idea took us? It allowed us to create several targets and platforms from funding coming from the national government's Department of Science and Technology, and intramural coming from the university, where we were able to focus technologies for vector-borne diseases like dengue and chikungunya, tuberculosis, multi-drug resistance organism, HIV drug resistance profiling, influenza, neglected tropical disease, and waterborne parasites. It became an adapted flagship program for communicable diseases of the Philippine Genome Center and the NIMBB of the UP National Institutes of Health in 2009. These adaptations for a program at the Philippine Genome Center and UP Manila created the Lab in a Mug project. The Lab in a Mug projects wherein we sort of miniaturize an isothermal technology that doesn't require any more expensive equipment to be able to access molecular-based diagnostic testing. So this Lab in a Mug is a multi-infectious disease diagnostic platform that is actually 90% cheaper than the current molecular machines for amplification. And our flagship program at the time was focused on dengue. It became an internationally recognized product, became a gold medalist in the 46th International Invention Exhibition in Geneva in 2018, and passed evaluation by the ASEAN NDI panel of experts in 2019, wherein out of 38 technologies being forwarded by scientists in all ASEAN countries, 2 made it to become an internationally endorsed product line, one coming from Indonesia and the other one coming from the Philippines, which is our dengue technology. But in spite of all this, we wanted to be able to bring this to the target end user. We're good in developing research, technologies, competitions, which technology is better or that. But the business side of biotechnology development is the biggest gap now here in the Philippines. It was a challenge, and we have to again talk among ourselves as scientists and decide, are we gonna go for this or not? At that point in time, there were no company willing to take a chance. There were no expertise in diagnostic kit manufacturing in the country. There was limited knowledge in technology commercialization from bench to bedside. There were limitations in the number of scientists skilled in the art of both the science and the art of entrepreneurship. But we really wanted our technology to be able to reach our target end user, which are our countrymen or the Philippines. So we decided maybe we should just do it ourselves. So it was a decision wherein, are we gonna do a startup wherein we'll fork it out, brave the storm, or are we gonna ask an industrial partner to buy out the intellectual property and us move it together into a company which we call a spin out? Or is it something that we can use both the help of the university and an industrial partner or friends, neighbors, family members who are willing to provide some investment money to start the ball rolling? So we pursued the spin-off idea, principally because there were a lot of things that happened that kind of supported it along the way. One is the Tech Transfer Act of 2009, Because some of the problems why professors and researchers in the universities are also not that willing to to commercialize their product by themselves is because they will be forced to leave the university. But we really love, I know it's weird for most people, but we love teaching, we love molding minds, but we also want to make sure that our technology, some of us, reach the other side. So the best thing about it is we kind of, although we're a little bit late, but in the US and Europe, professors are actually counted, measured in terms of their career academic growth, not just with the number of publications they produce, but also the number of spin-offs that they can actually create based on their fundamental scientific findings and work. So the Tech Transfer Act of 2009, we studied them and said maybe we should give it a try. In March of 2016, it was approved by the Board of Regents of the University of the Philippines to license the technology to the spin-off coming from the core scientists that developed the technologies from the University of the Philippines. Since the birth of the first university spin-off company of the University of the Philippines, which is really to develop and scale up affordable molecular-based diagnostic kits for both communicable and non-communicable diseases. Our four major technology pillars, and the first three diagnostic isothermal and PCR technologies became our principal activities in the initial development processes of the company. Making a company is one thing, making it sustainable is another. So because when we were going through regulatory and all of these things, this is the first time that these agencies are actually receiving requests for approvals and regulatory consent work, which actually they're used to foreign technologies coming in. So we became like guinea pigs every step of the way. We officially launched the company in 2015. We became an FDA approved facility for research and development, and also a special lab for clinical molecular services. In 2016, we got the FDA approval as the first manufacturing company for molecular diagnostic kits. Also an FDA approval for our dengue detection technology and nucleic acid technology. And we were given Outstanding Technology Award by the National Academy of Science on our dengue detection technology, and that the tech transfer of all the technologies we developed were licensed to us from the University of the Philippines. Then in 2017, in order for us to maintain our sustainability, we provided services for cancer diagnostics for AstraZeneca and Boehringer Ingelheim. And at that time, the Department of Science and Technology released the Fairness Opinion Report, allowing the company to transact with government agencies. We're so excited that finally the Department of Health will be launching the pilot implementation program of our dengue kit, and we will be able to shift from manual to robotic-based manufacturing. Unfortunately, while in that process, the Dingvaxia controversy came, and all programs that has the word dengue on it kind of took a slow turn. And to make the long story and dramatic story short, the program got halted and became the 2018 as the most challenging year for our company, because we were working on the dengue technology while we are developing other technologies in the process. But we had to diversify, increase our technology portfolio, develop new technologies. So I guess in the midst of pressure, you tend to be more creative because you do not want to go home failing. So in 2019, the largest dengue epidemic in the country was observed, and hence there was the resumption of the dengue implementation program, and we were able to expand further absorptive capacity to convert manual to robotic-based manufacturing. And at that time, because of all these technology development portfolios that we will put together, we were now independently valued as an 800 million company based on our intellectual properties. So basically, we didn't realize that all of these things that happened to us over the last several years kind of gave us a preparations for what it is to come. So while we thought we're working on dengue epidemics, a much bigger and deadlier epidemic were actually coming in and brewing in the horizon. And towards the end of 2019, again, a news of a novel coronavirus was actually identified in Wuhan, China. And then COVID came to the Philippines in the first quarter of 2020, again affecting the dengue programs that we have been pushing forward. But then we realized what else is new, everything is a challenge, so we just have to keep on going and pushing for building a stronger biotech programs within the organization in order for us to be able to get there. So little did we know that our challenges with the development of the first COVID-19 locally developed COVID-19 technology became our turning point as a company. And because of that, we were able to move things forward and learn a lot from this pandemic. And this is our COVID-19 story. In December of 2019, a novel virus first identified in Wuhan, China, is spread like wildfire around the globe. Like most countries, the Philippines were also cut off from the global lockdowns, affecting not only access to global goods and services, but as well as access to diagnostic technologies that is crucial for case identification, monitoring, and surveillance. As the world scrambled for the ability to be able to test individuals, so as the limitations to access diagnostic technology, particularly the RT-PCR. As the global community tried to accelerate testing, supplies became a challenge, especially among countries with limited resources. As per law of supply and demand, the cost of the testing at the start of the pandemic ranged from $80 to $200 in the Philippines. And the only way we believe for us to change that is through local innovation. I remember sending this message to my research and development team on the development of a PCR-based assay based on the genetic sequence published at the early part of the pandemic, and that's how we started the ball rolling. As we were brainstorming our ideas, we wanted the diagnostic technology to be sensitive enough to be able to identify the disease at the early phase of symptoms. It must be specific enough to make sure that it readily identifies the virus and not something else. That the process of the laboratory performance should be shorter because of the time element of the diagnostic testing required to most number of people. It must be able to identify multiple targets at the same time to better appreciate the sensitivity and specificity of the technology. It must be able to confirm the diagnosis with certainty, and most importantly, it must be affordable enough for my countrymen. After several weeks of research and development, the Gen Amplify Coronavirus Disease 2019 RRT-PCR detection kit was developed. This is a one-step multiplex PCR platform that detects 3 genes of interest: the E gene, the RDRP gene, and the human endogenous sample control, the RNase-P. It can detect COVID-19 virus as low as 0.05 copies per microliter 100% of the time with 100% specificity. It generated a 91 to 100% concordance rate compared with foreign PCR technologies that were tested by independent laboratories in the Philippines. But the most important thing is from 80 US dollar, we were able to reduce the cost to 8 US dollar. How did we come up with the cheapest COVID-19 RRT-PCR kit in the Philippines? In the Philippines, we have the Bayanihan spirit. Bayanihan literally means being in a bayan, and it refers to a fundamental aspect of Filipino culture working together as a community to achieve a common goal. Through a government, academe, and industrial partnerships, we were able to put all our resources together to come up with the cheapest technology that can be provided to the Filipino people. As early developers of the technology, the company and my team were placed on the global stage. To date, close to 400,000 patients were tested using the locally developed technology. And our post-marketing surveillance provides our client-based satisfaction rating of 9 to 9.4 over 10. More importantly, the diagnostic kit maintained its ability to pick up the circulating variants, including the Delta variant. Because of the local support, the generations of technology went beyond the development of the COVID-19 kit here in the Philippines. It generated over 160 new jobs for Filipinos and at the same time generated an additional 52 technologies coming from the outputs of our research scientists in the company. So where are we heading after all of these challenging moments and successes in terms of developing technologies for the country? I think we just have to keep on going in terms of our plans for the future of the Filipino scientists and providing them an area, a space, a haven wherein they can actually do what they do best, their creativity and knack for developing scientific technologies that will help improve the lives of our countrymen and at the same time become a future contributor of the country's macroeconomic growth. Of course, it's very important that in looking at the future directions of the company, the first step towards getting somewhere is actually decide that we are not going to stay where we are at the moment. Hence, we decided to move on to the next level, which is this one. So in the future, in the not so distant future, we will give it our best to improve and build the health biotechnology ecosystem here in the Philippines. Simply because, as the founder and CEO of the first biotechnology company here, I feel that it's also our mission as a team, no, to try to make a statement that Filipino scientists is at par or even better than some of the companies outside the country, and that we can compete at the global stage, but we need to do our homework and make sure that we build that ecosystem that will make sure that the programs and the exchange of ideas and the opportunities for collaborations are here. But beyond just by building scientific work and bring them all the way to the marginalized sector or to the society here in the Philippines. It's simply because as Filipinos, it should not be asked from us to serve and love our country. It should be freely given by ourselves to make sure that the future of our children and our children's children will be way better than the current situations we are in. And it's not just an obligation of one sector of society, but should be a collective spirit of all of us who needs to make sure that we are building this not just for profits, not just for, inner gains, but we are building it on a much higher purpose because we want something that will make everyone's lives better. And hey, in the process of doing that, it's it's the company is growing and providing opportunities for financial growth among its members. The world as I see it is beautiful. For me, it is beautiful. Despite of everything that's happening here, I still look at the world as one of the most beautiful sight to see. We must all contribute to use our knowledge in making it better, not just for ourselves, but for every living thing that makes it wonderful. That we must be more active in showing love for country, that we must strive to find meaning in what we do, and that whatever path we choose them because it's what makes us complete. So I always tell my team every time we start developing new technology to have a dream, to start somewhere, and persevere. Thank you so much for having me today. Our next step is helping the country's effort in controlling the African swine fever epidemic. We just got our FDA approval and we're doing the daily grind again. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Raul. What an interesting presentation. Your Love in a Mug project paved the way for low cost diagnostic testing that developing countries like us really needs. Also, what's equally impressive was sure you became the first manufacturing company in the country for molecular diagnostic kits. By the way, happy anniversary to Manila Healthtek, sir.
Today.
Yeah, today I heard you celebrated your anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, to start with, I have some questions of mine. As a next gen leader, you mentioned you need to be bold, fearless, or brave. What are the stumbling blocks you had experienced in your field?
The stumbling block is really cultural. We still have that notion. We can't blame most of our culture. It's really that imported are always better than local. Um, that's one. Second is our processes here is not as efficient as in other developed countries in terms of business processes and transactions. Third is our regulatory standards here are still not at par with what's actually required in the global community. So what we usually do is we also seek accreditation in the international arena to make our product not just only in country relevant but regionally relevant. And of course, if we can have less of bureaucratic steps, that would be better. So these were all of our stumbling blocks. And of course, when resources or raw materials are coming in from outside the country, the processes of bringing them in is also a bit of a challenge. Can really test your patience. Yeah.
So mga same challenges for other companies, Filipino-owned companies. I'm
Yeah,
about to ask that, like challenges for locally developed products today versus developed brands. So I think you answered my question on that part. So it's really difficult for us Filipinos. No, you're right. Actually, it's culture. Yeah, it's culture. We love or we depend on imported products. Even with the
yeah,
vaccine, we prefer brands rather than the quality of the product, right?
that's true.
You mentioned you need to balance your profit on or business. So can you share us how you do it in your organization?
In our organizations, we also, um, I, as I mentioned in my closing statement in our anniversary celebration, our greatest asset really are our people, the creativity of everybody. So sometimes, based on experience, there's so many factors affecting human creativity, and sometimes it's the one that's actually missed out, no, by most of us, no, because we are focused on P&Ls and all the others now. But in case, so that's why in how do we balance it? We consider supporting our human resource as important as generating tangible profits. We consider creativity as also profits, in this case, because if you are a research and development company, the ability to innovate, be always inspired, requires that particular type of thinking. So that's why we have, as important as the chief financial officer or the chief marketing sales, or chief operations, it's at the same level to have a chief wellness officer for our human resource, because having that kind of treatment to our scientists, gives them not just encouragement, but also a form of meritocracy, to the entire organization. And that's, once the creativity of your team dies, the entire biotech company will definitely die or lose its relevance. So that's how I balance it. Sometimes, we're asking, how can we give back more to our to our to our team, uh, that will continue encourage them, inspire them to create new things. And that's the model, so far it's working right now, from one product to 54 products in
Wow.
16 months. Yeah.
Oh, good to hear. So
Yeah.
it's also the same with work-life balance with your employees,
Yes.
I assume.
Yes. Yes. They need to play. They
Yes.
have to play.
So
Otherwise,
you're
yeah.
both aligned. You're aligned. So
Yes. Yeah.
what's your
Right.
vision and the vision of your employees?
Yeah. Our offices has sugar corners and ping pong tables and all of these things, just so, video games if
Wow,
they want to.
malagugel.
I don't want them to sit on the bench, a table, 8 to 5, and clock work only, or body clock human resource management. I'm more concerned about their outputs. If they can be more 200 times creative elsewhere, I will let them go there. So,
Okay.
I measure them based on their outputs.
I heard you talk about meritocracy. So how do
Yeah.
you do that to help uplift naman yung the weaker part of the organization? Di ba, syempre,
Yeah. So it's a very challenging human resource management framework if you're working with eccentric people, because they are all scientists, and,
yes, yes,
the
yes.
EQ levels are a little bit in
I
different
can't
degrees.
imagine how you, ano, because iba-iba
Yeah,
yung, probably you have different mindsets, right?
yeah. And sometimes the reason why they are not productive is because you put them in the wrong track, and they are unable to bring out their creativity, not because they are lazy. So human engagement, and assessing the internal workings of a scientist mind needs to be assessed by our human resource, department, and our, psychology, psychiatry group, that allows us to make it, understand more how we can actually provide opportunities for this person to bloom, in this area. It's a challenge. It's more personalized. But I think
Yeah.
uh, if we spend more time on other strategies, creating marketing personas, looking at our P&Ls and all of these things, same energy must also be given to the inner workings of the mind of scientists in an organization wherein creativity is the commodity rather than a requirement.
Wow. So probably nga iba yung thinking pag most scientists, you're working with most of the scientists in the Philippines, right?
I've been working with
So
them for like 30 years, so it's
yeah, 30 years. Wow, that's so long. So when I talk about with our friend with my friends in the medical industry, when I say your name, they'll tell me that you're one of your ano is the dengue testing equipment.
yeah,
So
yeah.
after all this, even with the COVID, with the dengue, with your biotech lab, uh, what do you want the world to know you?
Well, I just want to be known as the person that democratized access of one of the most amazing diagnostic technology that used to be accessed only by people who are up there. But now I want to democratize this and make it more available to the marginalized sector, and yet spawn profitability. And that's how we built our company right now. But of course, there were a lot of near misses,
Yes,
wrong turns and left, but we took it all in as part of our learning process until we get
it's.
the final groove that works for us.
I think it's part of the growing pains
Yeah,
of
that's
every
the
company.
growing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like with your presentation of the future of Manila Health, I see your future brighter. So
Thank you.
again, thank you, Dr. Raul, for sharing your time and expertise with us today. Good luck on your future endeavors. While you're doing is a big help to our country's health system, not just for our health system, but for us, for the Filipinos, providing low cost technology that could help us rather than be dependent on imported ones. Again, thank you, everyone, and stay safe and healthy. Please log in now for the next breakout session of your choice. This breakout session is now adjourned.
Hello, welcome back. Good afternoon. I'm Bong Paloma. I'm your moderator for this track. Welcome to the Next Gen CEO Web Conference 2021. You're attending track number 4, The Good Technology. On this track, we have a speaker from Citicore Power Inc., a community-based focused renewable energy company that responsibly harnesses nature's resource to fuel long-term value and empower Filipino communities through innovative renewable energy systems. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome the chairman and president of Citicore Holdings Inc., Mr. Edgar Saavedra.
Hello? Bong, can you hear me? Para ano, it's not working. Huh? I can see myself. Can you see my slides? So you're presenting?
I can present.
Wait, Bong.
Can you see it?
Yeah, sige.
Are you ready? We can see your slide, we can hear you, and we can see you clearly. Thank you.
Okay, so Bong, I guess my presentation. Good morning, everyone, no, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I present the Citicore, the good tech, my first discussion will be I'll just like to present like an introduction. As you know, I'm very much. Everyone knows that I'm from Megawide, so I just give a short background who I am and who is Megawide and how did I involve to Citicore.
Sure. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, so first, Megawide milestone. No, um, over uh, over 20 years of engineering excellence and infrastructure, our engineering DNA has enabled us to transform Megawide from a pure construction in 1997 into a fully diversified infrastructure company today. So Megawide started as just a small construction company, and so from a purely construction company, so we went public by 2012, and then we won several infrastructure asset as developer, not only as limit as not as contractor. So these are the Mactan Cebu International Airport. We also developed the Paranaque Integrated Transport Exchange, but we also won some build, finance, and operate transfer of the 10,000 classroom last 2000, around 2012. Well, that was the first public-private partnership. And we also won the Clark International Airport as construction. And right now, we are partnering with Cebu LGU to build and fix their carbon market, their public wet and dry market. So you can see the transformation of Megawide from just purely a construction company and infrastructure construction until we started developing infrastructure asset. Now, Megawide, it has always been our vision that for everything that we do, whether construction or we develop our own, we want to do a first world uh, product, first world output. So that's why our vision is we will be a first world Philippines, because we want to impart as engineers and architects and designers, in our company, because we have a lot of engineers, technical people in the organization. So we want to impart our knowledge to the Philippines and help build the nation. We want to develop a lot of local capability, hopefully, so that we can um, have our own infrastructure capability. So now the next one, the next slide is um, I just want to show that these are the typical assets that we have. We have the Mactan Cebu International Airport. We have the PITX. So you can see that even Mactan, we won this awards in Amsterdam last 2018. Um, it's like the Oscar of the architecture. What's the name of that, Anna? World Architecture. So we're proud to say that the first Filipino company who used the timber structure, timber meaning we have to import this timber solid structure from Austrian German forest and ship it all the way across um, uh, the globe, no, 180 degrees across the globe, and use that as a timber structure. So, and PITX, we also did the, by the way, this is close to my heart, the 10,000 classroom, 10,000 public school building, and public class 10,000 classrooms wherein we build and finance across 3,500 sites. So the social impact of this is huge for like hundreds of thousands of Filipino students who will benefit this on year. So we are able to deliver cheaper cost, better product, and we fund it, and we were able to help the Department of Education to lower the backlog back then from 60,000 backlog. We were able to contribute 10,000 classrooms, and it went down to 12,000 classroom backlog in spite of the K-12. Now, why is it mega wide? A lot of people have asked me why mega wide have grown so fast over the others. So I just wanna say, that the reason why mega wide is able to grow faster than the others is because during the time of because we started mega wide 1997. That was the time where it was the financial crisis. So um, a lot of the construction company have shied away in investing, innovating new technology, and investing in bringing foreign experts. But for us, since 2005, 6, even when we were far smaller, we bring in the expats, who are experts, Germans, Japanese, and we brought in a lot of like new technologies, new equipment for us to be able to build faster. And one of the technology that we did is the modular construction. So as you know, in Philippines, building houses or building construction takes so much time, and the workmanship skills level of our fellow Filipinos here are not that high. So there will always be challenges in building if you want to build fast for in any structure, whether be it a house or a building. So we use the modular construction using precast, as you see in the pictures. We even did like this picture is showing that even a toilet pod can be prefabricated, everything in the factory and delivered on site. So and modular construction method enable mass production and good and quality control, and this help us grow the company faster. Now you can see in the pictures that our modern and state-of-the-art precast facility is the second largest in Southeast Asia, and we do not just manufacture walls, floors, and partition, but we also do a lot of application of the building elements. By doing modular construction, we can mass produce building components, keep them in stock, and deliver to project sites when ready to be assembled and built. We are vertically integrated, that we have our own equipment like the formworks, heavy equipment, and logistics, and our own batching plant that we can mobilize in a project site for a more efficient value chain. Now, we also did a different approach, like the timber structure. This slide is showing that Megawide is innovation is not limited to just precast, but even this timber structure, because we found out that this timber structure is suitable in doing arches. So when we did the design for our airport, we found out also that a lot of the sustainability initiatives and carbon footprint savings if you're going to use this timber structure. So I think the what I'm trying to say here is that um, each company, like Megawide as an organization, we always like to innovate. We always like to explore new things in doing things. We want to explore new technology, bring in the experts, and explore new methodologies. So this is one of the examples that we did in Mactan Cebu International Airport, which we won the architectural award in Amsterdam. So now I now go to my next presentation, which is the Citicore. So 2015, um, when when the when the government and started bidding out the fit rate, like by promoting renewable energy in solar, we in the team, we were one of the first few players to venture into this kind of business. So we first build 3 plants around 105 megawatts of solar farm. So we started it in 2015. So that was the time where Citicore Power was founded, a purely renewable energy development company. So by 2018, we acquired 5 solar assets. Some of them are with fit rates. So now at that time we became one of the largest. I've been second or third. Okay. Then for Citicore solar energy plants, right now we have 8 plants across the Philippines in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And we are the third largest right now operating capacity. But we hope to be in the second by next year because we're also about to turn over one of the solar farm, hopefully by Q1 next year. This will bring us to the second biggest, around 70 megawatts. And now another innovation what we did in Citicore is we are also developing an um, agro solar model, meaning in the solar panels, below the solar panels, we plant um, root crops such as ginger, turmeric. So this is one way for our sustainability and social responsibility initiatives. We invite the local farmers and teach them, guide them, educate them to plant the root crops as their alternative sources of income. Then we help them sell them, help them including the selling or to the market. So this is one way for us in able to do our social responsibility part, no. And we not only that, but um, we also include the we are not, meaning we are not displacing, because a lot of the solar farms now, a lot of issues is that solar plants are displacing the agriculture land. So in our case, in Citicore, what we're doing is to have an inclusive strategy, meaning we keep the same agriculture land, we try to put the solar, but probably we just have to change the root crops, but maintain the agricultural land at the same time doing the solar farm. So this is one of the initiative of and one of the innovation that what we are doing in Citicore. Now, in terms of the solar energy plants, we have running the solar farm. Since we're one of the first few players, we have over 5 years of track record. We have our own team organically who can operate and maintain the solar plants, all the solar farm, and everything we do it um, remotely. So we have the SCADA, where they call it the supervisory control and data acquisition, where we are able to manage remotely and real time every piece of panel and every piece of spare parts in our solar farm. So, including the computerized maintenance management system, so we can track real time which panel is working or not. So, this is how we're able to use technology and train our own people to remotely um, operate and maintain the solar plants. Now, Citicore, we are also probably the only end-to-end um, renewable energy company, because we started me as a construction company from Megawide. So in Citicore, we do end to end because we do the pre-development, we do from land acquisition, stakeholder management, and construction. We do our own construction, design, we do our engineering, and we do our own construction until it's operation. So we do our own operations. So it's the same strategy. Even in construction, we are fully integrated. In Citicore, we have the same business model. We are fully integrated in terms of the supply chain. So we start from the pre-dev and do our own construction and OEM. I think that's one of the DNA. That's one of the advantage also what we have, because of our technical capabilities, our innovation mindset, and also values. So we also do this in Citicore. So the key takeaways, in summary, it is our engineering DNA that allows us to think differently and challenge how we build things. Complacency on doing things the traditional way pulls us back from creating a first world infrastructure. Investment in good, modern technology enables Citicore to compete in a level playing field against bigger and other competitors. But while good technology is an enabler, we also recognize the need for agile leadership and dynamic people management, so that we are able to seize opportunities presented to us, or those that we create for ourselves in time of crisis. So thank you, and we hope you can share the Citicore's megawide vision and work towards a first world Philippines we all deserve. Bom? Bom?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Saavedra. That was very exciting. A tropical country like the Philippines, we should harness the power of the sun. And I'm happy that from your construction days, you have evolved to become one of the top three solar provider in the country. So we would like to encourage the audience to ask questions if you have any, and Mr. Saavedra would gladly answer them. Whether that question is related to construction or solar, I think Mr. Saavedra would be very happy to answer your questions. Okay, let me start with the first question. You started with construction and now you're into solar. And how is the situation of the solar as a technology in the Philippines? I know that it's gaining adoption, but the support of the government is there. But still, in terms of source or energy supply, we're still primarily fuel fossil based, right? So do you see
Yes.
this changing in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yes, it is, Bong. In fact, there is really a strong push, from the international community. That's why if you look at the direction of the government, no, particularly the Department of Energy, they have plans to bid out around 10,000 megawatts of renewable energy in the next 5 years. So one of their program is to launch to auctions 2,000 megawatts every year. So they've
Wow.
announced that they plan to release this year, hopefully, if they can launch that. So this is why we think it's very excited when it comes to the renewable energy sector. As you know, um, during the pandemic, I think we all realized that the power sector is one of the few essential business where it's not or it's more resilient not to pandemic. So, and we know that the younger generations or the direction of the government is really to produce more cleaner energy. And I think this is the right time for everyone, for the renewable energy players, to start producing so that we can have more cleaner energy than fossil fuel power generation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That is very encouraging to hear that soon renewable clean energy will eclipse, the fuel um, in the near future. Now, let's see if we have questions from the audience. Meron na ba? Wala pa. So my next question to you, Mr. Saavedra. You have been in construction business. You've built airports. You've built schools. In the near future, do you see this solar technology being integrated into your construction business when you construct the next airport, the next facility? Is that something that you have planned moving forward into the future? Because you already have the engineering capability, and you mentioned about vertical integration, right? So is this something in your mind that you have planned to do in the near future, or maybe you are already doing it?
In fact, Bong, we're already doing it because even in our airport, we also installed the solar panel roof on our roof. So it's being done right now. So it's not in the future; it's being done now.
Okay, that's good to hear. In terms of cost, I know that the cost is dropping, and uh, is this going to drop at the level where every household will, put a solar panel on the roof?
Well, surprisingly, no, you're right. For the last 3-4 years, it has significantly dropped, no, the price. But recently, the prices of solar have gone up also. Why? Because the Chinese government also launched their program, like thousands of gigawatts, not megawatts. So thousands. So we know that uh, the China is experiencing the the
Power
the air
shortage.
pollution, right? The air pollution and the power shortage, and then they're also shifting, their power source from the fossil fuel power to renewable energy. So there is a strong policy from the Chinese government to push for the renewable energy. Because of this, the solar panels prices have gone up.
Okay. Any chance for Philippines to produce its own solar panel? I know, I remember back in the days, there was a company that used to produce a solar panel here. What is happening to that industry?
Oh, I think the challenge really, Bong, is that in Philippines we lack the size, the economy of scale. Unlike in China, you have the economy of scale there. So in their domestic market alone, I mean, you cannot compete the size. I mean, the volume, no. So I guess it's very difficult to compete with the manufacturing in China. But probably for the assembly, we can do the assembly here, but not the real manufacturing of the PV panels.
Okay. One of the issues farmers bring to the table when you start to build solar farms is really you're taking land away from them because it takes so much land to build a solar farm. And tell us more about this agro-solar model that you have pioneered.
Yeah, that's true, Bong. That's why that's the common problem, because when you convert the land to solar, you practically take away or take out the agricultural use, right, of the land and convert it to solar farm, right? But we are able to solve this by combining the two. The two can coexist. So, meaning, in fact, the farmers even, in fact, we were explaining this to the Department of Agriculture, and the secretary even told us he is supporting to an alternative crops for the farmers, because we know we have challenges, right, in planting rice because of our weather, so because of our typhoons, too many
Mhm.
typhoons. So by doing the agro solar and helping the farmers, and we're doing this for free, and then the 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 revenue that we're generating, more than half we give it to the farmers, so it's an additional income to the farmers. So see, we're able to address Bong from just from instead of displacing the agricultural use of the land, now we're combining the two. It's
That's
very
very
inclusive.
that's very good. Let's see if we have question. Okay, we have question here from the audience from Gian Cruz. How's the integrity of the structure in using timber compared to using concrete in construction buildings, as seen in the Clark Airport? Is it very aesthetically pleasing?
It's very aesthetically pleasing and also safe structurally, and also more sustainable. Just to give a short background, no? Now, the timber structure, if it's massive, meaning with a certain size, it becomes more fire retardant than the steel.
Hmm.
And why it is so sustainable? This wood that we're using, these are like in Europe, they have a problem there, like fallen trees. They have excess trees that are not being used, and these are the trees that are being, I mean, the fallen trees being used, not the like the not in like in our case we lag the old trees. So that's why it is very sustainable.
Hmm. Okay. So these are
Unlike in
trees.
unlike in steel, no, unlike in steel, you burn thousands, hundreds of thousands of carbon footprints for every ton of fuel every ton of steel you produce. So, and then you have to fabricate it. So if you compare to the wood, we go back to the natural construction, and like just like the old days, like 1,000 years ago. That's why you can see a lot of the castle in in Europe
Europe.
being built in timber are still up and standing for more than 1,000 years, right?
Well, I have a question on that because I see a lot of construction. Does that apply to like a house, or is there a certain size where you have to use timber to be able to make it sustainable and more cost effective? Because the trend I see here in our neighborhood, most of the constructions that are going on are made of steel trusses.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem kasi, Bong, right now is because, I mean, we have a total lag ban now. The policy of the government is we don't have any trees anymore here. So even the structural designers, the engineers, my generations during the past 20 to 30 years ago, you still can see structural engineers can do design for timber. But now the young generation, you can hardly see anyone who can do a timber design, because we ran out of trees, we ran out of wood. So, but if you look at the in the developed countries such as Europe and US, they're starting to go back in using the timber. But naman, no, they have a program in doing the logging. No, they have a system on, they plant and then they can only cut down trees, but they have the plant also. So they have a sustainable way of doing the logging. So for them, it's very sustainable. And unlike before, right now the timber becomes very premium. If you have a timber structure, it becomes very premium. So you don't need to clad it, you don't need to beautify it. The raw the timber is, the better, the more aesthetic it will look like. I think that's the essence. That's why it becomes very viable.
It's more warm to be
It's more
inside.
warm, it's warmer, and it looks beautiful.
DC. Yeah, I'd like to shift gear a little bit, and on the side of being a good CEO. You've started Megawide with your classmate in LaSalle, and then you've grown it to a level where it is today, and now you're into solar, and you're setting your eyes to become number one. Where can you attribute that success? Is it you and your partner? Is it the people? Is it give the audience, the next generation CEO, some tips?
Okay. Well, of course, first, no, you have to develop the attitude, right? The mindset, the right mindset, because um even when I started um mega wide, no, Bong, the drive that I have, the tenacity, you need to have that um mindset and behavior, because with the right behavior, you will always, I have a lot of mistakes, no, so in the end, with all the mistakes, it will transform to learnings, eh? So all this innovation is a function of trial and errors, right? So if you don't have the tenacity, you will not have the energy or the courage to stand up after several failures. So for us, for me, that's the first step. Obviously, is the people around you, right? You build your organization, you build your partners in terms of vendors, suppliers. Now, using that kind with our values, where we invest in new, we like to explore new things. That's why I think we have a different way of doing business. We are not so profit oriented, from a personal level, Bong, and also organizationally. I think that's one of the culture I was able to impart to the organization. We're more we're more conscious in delivering product, like, we want to make sure it's sustainable. We want to make sure it's inclusive. We want to make sure it's first world the quality, because,
Mhm.
meaning, I said, I have built so many buildings. I mean, I don't need so much money, right? I mean, um to be honest, I'm trying, modesty aside, Bong, I just want to make sure we have, I mean, even to all our people, that I'm saying that if building a crappy building or crappy structures and building a nice one is the same effort, so why build a crappy one? So that's why we have this kind of value. So I can attribute this to the mindset, or to the behavior, to the attitude, and also to the people in the organization, because ultimately it's really, I mean, it's the organization or the people who really build the company, right? It's not only myself. I mean, probably I can give the direction, but ultimately you need the people to work with you and believe in your goals and dreams.
Well, very well said. We have a lot of millennials and Gen Z in the audience, and sometimes they only see your success and they don't see your failures.
Yeah,
So it's very
no, that's true,
important.
Bong.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
very
that's true, Bong.
important that there is no shortcut in life. There is no shortcut in success. I think that's what you're saying, that you have to keep on trying, and failure makes you a better person, and better, and a better company, and you have to be with a good company of people that you trust as well.
Yes.
Very good. So we have a question again from Gian. Sir, if you have a message to yourself, what would it be?
Message to myself.
I think it's asking, okay, with all this talk about people, with all this talk about planet, with all this talk about profitability, you're already there. And what else, I think, can you do and contribute, as a CEO and as a successful businessman? What legacy would you want to leave,
Oh,
to your
yeah.
company and to your country, Philippines?
Yeah, uh if you look at my second slides, no, the first slides I presented, the first few slides, if you look at our vision, Bong, no, first world Philippines, you can already see, no, and you can already sense it, that we in Megawide, I myself together with the team, we came up with that vision is because we said that, so we keep on, we built so many infrastructure, we built many facilities, buildings. So what we want to impart to the Philippines is to build first world facilities and construction, or us or buildings. So this is what we want to impart, and this is what I always say to our organization, especially to the young employees, that because building a good ones and the bad ones will take the same effort. So that's what we want to impart. And we want also to develop local capabilities, Gian, in terms of, we know that Philippines, we we have a lot of we need a lot of infrastructure that we don't have. We don't have the capability in building rails. We don't have before capabilities of building airports. So that's what we want to develop and impart to the Philippines, no, to have a local entity who have the capability to build that infrastructure, because ultimately it's the Filipino engineers who will learn. It's the Filipino engineers who will execute, and it's the Filipino workers. And where do this work, this, if the more we do this, the more we encourage students or young ones to take engineering courses and take and do this building of infrastructure working with us. I think if you look at the success of other countries, Gian, even Japan, how they did it, there was a push in the government to push the local, the private sector to learn and develop their capabilities. You can see that from the history of 1970s, 1960s, 70s, how Japanese built their who they are right now. They took a lot, they got a lot of their know-how, technology from US, from Europe, and this is what China is doing now. I hope the Philippines will also be doing this. That's why I'm encouraging also the other new players, young players, new players, to come out and be an entrepreneur and explore this and help develop, build our nation. Because I think, Bong, up to now, we still have very few players in the Philippines. We have 100 million Filipinos, but very few, I would say, industry leaders who can build or develop infrastructure, first world, that can give opportunities, jobs, careers to the Filipino people.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I have another question for you, Mr. Saavedra. In the last 2 years, we all suffered and hit by this pandemic, and I'm sure you're in the construction business. You were hit as well. I don't know at what level is the impact of the pandemic to your company. But what have you learned in the last 2 years that allowed you to reshape the strategy of Megawide and Citicore moving forward into the future? And what were the challenges? And as a result of these challenges, what made you have to rethink of something different, and you have to pivot, right? And can you share with us what are those thoughts during the pandemic and how this will shape your direction moving forward into the future?
Yeah. Number one, Bong, is um like in our case, Bong, no. So in construction, for example, we shifted right away. We are fast enough to shift to different sector. What does that mean? We know that shopping malls, commercials are affected.
Mm-hmm.
So we have couple of projects, like in commercial shopping malls buildings, that client needed to stop the project and shelve it. So we shifted our focus to infrastructure, because what it's more that's what it that when that's the market that is not so affected, no, by the pandemic. Now if you look at airport was one of the epicenter of the hit, no, of the pandemic. Now what did we do? We focus our renewable energy, because you can see that the shift of the government also, they shifted to more renewable energy, and we've found out that during the pandemic, the power business is not so affected. The operation remains the same. So basically it's an essential, and the operations, because the it's not it's not totally stopped, unlike in construction, where during the major lockdown, where there was really no activities going on. But for power, the you can still deliver or supply the energy, the power to every household. So I think you just have to be agile enough, and you need to focus where the market is, because no matter what you do, no matter what song and dance I'll do in the airport, I think if there's no traffic, I cannot get any
Yeah,
business
you
at
can
all,
change
right?
it.
You cannot change it. But so we just need to focus on where the business is, where the market is. That's one. Number two, Bong, this is what I realized. The pandemic, I think I'm more effective. Why? I close more deals during the pandemic. Why?
That's
Because I
very
don't need
good.
to travel. I don't need to travel. I can stay in my office, close 1 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion worth of project, and just stayed in the office. I could not do this without the during the normal scenario. I need to travel to Makati. I need to go to my client. I need to attend this. I need to do speaking engagement. All of this, I mean, will eat like 4 hours, 5 hours a day. So can you imagine that? Instead of 5 hours, I'll just do 30 minutes to 1 hour. So I think I was able to capitalize on this. That's why
So there was a productivity increase by not doing all this traveling.
yes, very much increase. So I think these two reasons that I think that I think we should be focusing. Just focus on the market and capitalize on the pandemic in terms of doing the virtual work, because that's where you will maximize the effect.
During the slowdown, do you have to like let go people, or was there ever a time that you have to do that as a CEO?
Yes, we had, like during the peak of the lockdown, like the first 3-4 months, we needed to let go because there are projects that really stopped where client decided to stop. So we needed to do that. But what we did, Bong, is that what we talked to those people that we let go, and we said we're gonna pay you double, twice what the law is saying. Now, to at least we want to be compassionate enough and to show to our people that we care for them. But the impact, of course, we will have more loss, but we took that decision. And I told to those people who stayed that those people who will stay, I said, you'll get your salaries in full, even though we are in lockdown. We'll find our own way on how to recover, because I know we can recover. And true enough, we were able to. We have the highest order book, higher than pre-pandemic. And then in solar, we are able to roll out so many projects, more than pre-pandemic. So the only thing I told to our employees, to our organization, is just we just have to work harder. This is the time to work harder. Last year was the time of like letting go of some people, because we cannot support, like if the business or half or portion of the business is stopped, right? But those people who stayed, what I just told them is we just have to work harder, because during the bad times I make sure you get your salary in full, even though we are totally locked down. So now this is the time to recover, and I think it pays off, because these people know that the company is really serious in taking care of them.
Very good. Well, we're running out of time, Mr. Edgar Saavedra, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and for sharing some tips to our young CEOs. I hope that they will emulate your success and they will inherit the kind of discipline and you have inspired them in this talk. Thank you very much to all the attendees. That concludes our breakout session. It's great to hear valuable insights from all of our speakers today, who are truly breaking grounds in their respective fields. It is now time to go back to our main stage, and please carefully follow the instructions flashed on the screen to return to the plenary session. Simply click the plenary hall tab found on the left side of your screen, and you will instantly be taken to the plenary sessions. Thank you again, and I wish you all a good health.
Click the Plenary Hall tab to watch the conference. Click on a session to see more details. Click on the Breakout Session tab to watch the other tracks. Once a session is live, you will see a Join button. Click on it to watch the session. Click to see all the speakers for this conference. Just click on the tab you would want to go to. That's it, you're ready to go. Enjoy the conference.